Welcome back to Citystead. I am Josh, and it is a nice, beautiful morning, very early out in the garden. Always love this time of day in the garden. So every year in the garden is a new story, and every story is different. And I thought that I would share a little bit of the story of how my garden is going this year, how it kind of went to really high hopes to let's just hope we can get something. As many of you know, this year was very weird for most everything. It started off with this crazy pandemic.
Coronavirus, which is, very well under control in our country.
And we were home a lot. So I really thought I was gonna get so much done. And we did. We accomplished many tasks early in the year. We built lots of stuff for the greenhouse. We built lots of stuff to get planted more. We really expanded our garden. We even brought in a giant load of wood chips, which we dispersed all throughout the garden, and we started a permaculture food forest area. Our friends at Rain Tree Nursery, they blessed us with some amazing gifts of trees and bushes that we planted throughout our entire yard. Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what was it? That should probably be a honeyberry, I bet. Looks like it. And you're the head gardener. You should be doing this. Sitting back with my feet, relaxing. While my coworkers do all the work. Get back to work. Break's over.
Excuse me, that is my shovel. Why don't you get the teeny tiny blue?
We even took a lot of time this year to set up a separate grow space in the basement and got ourselves some LED grow lights so we could try to start seeds way earlier than we normally do, because normally we would only start them in the greenhouse, which we can only do at certain times when we know we're not going to have severe frost. And we put our grow room to use, starting a ton of seeds out there, and then a few weeks later when the weather was a little bit better, we filled this greenhouse all the way around with just plants. We were ready to rock. On top of that, we even built ourselves another greenhouse space, albeit much smaller. It was just another space to be able to start seeds to get really ahead of the game for this year's garden. Luckily, we actually have a humongous seed collection, because at one point in time it almost looked like we weren't going to be able to get seeds, and a lot of seed companies were really slow and behind. But we planned a little bit. We got a little bit ahead of the game by buying our seeds way early in the winter season, that we didn't have to worry as much come spring. So now we have this greenhouse full of beautiful green plants. We have a basement grow room full of beautiful green plants. The only thing we had to do was wait for the frost to break, and it just kind of drug out a few weeks longer than it normally does. Of course, right at that time that last frost happened, that is when I got the phone call. Yeah, of course it would happen that way. That right after the last frost, the week I was gonna plan on just planting the entire garden out and just really just taking my time, methodically going through it all and just planting everything, I got the phone call. Work was back on. So we got the garden planted. It wasn't easy by any means, but we did it in all our time after work, on the weekends, because we still were working relatively decent hours, only 50 hours a week, which some people are like, oh my goodness, that's a lot. But for me, that's actually, less than we normally do. So working 50 hours a week, I had a lot of time to get out in the garden, still get it all planted. And we did. It was great. It was going awesome. And then, and then the groundhogs, they just hit. They hit the garden and they ate everything. Parsley, Swiss chard, gone. They even got my Kajari melons. All the seedlings we had put out just completely devastated. It was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. And come to find out, there's a family of 6 groundhogs right next door. How do I know there's 6? Well, because we caught 4 of them, and I've actually spotted with my own 2 eyes 2 more kind of roaming around, and we are hoping to get them real soon. But all was not lost, because at that time we also got a new spot to garden. We picked up a spot at our community garden down the street from us, a short little walk, and we planted that thing out in a rush, mad dash, and it started producing really good. Plants are growing, taking off like crazy, and it was just so nice to have a second successful area to grow while we fought our little pest control problem back here at the Citystead. So now we have 2 garden spaces. We've really expanded how we're gardening, where we're gardening, and it's been really nice to actually be able to try to meet some more people who like gardening in our area through the community garden and kind of building some more relationships over there. So while the community garden was really taking off and starting to look really beautiful and just a gorgeous little garden space, back home we still had this groundhog issue. We were just not having any kind of luck catching these guys, and they were just eating everything. It didn't matter what we would put in. I put 2nd and 3rd rounds of plantains from the greenhouse. We emptied all the seedlings out of the greenhouse and put them into the ground, and we were just losing everything. Everything was just being lost, and it was really eating at me and just really dragging my spirits down for gardening. I got struck by these darn groundhogs again. Literally just planted lettuce and Swiss chard in this bed. That was really nice and lush looking. It literally pushed this, look at this thing was against the box right here, and it pushed it out of the way so it could climb its stupid rear end in there and eat all of my stuff. I swear, I can't handle this anymore. I am going to destroy all groundhogs that I see. I don't even care anymore. At this point, I really just don't care. Do not care. But not everything was doing terrible. Most of the herb spiral we built here is really taking off and looking good. We got a few tomato plants that are just really doing awesome. We were even able to spring our pepper patch that they'd eaten all the way down back to life. And then we had our first successful trapping of one of our garden pests. And we do get little victories along the way. And well, now here we stand. We are roughly 80 days away from our first frost date. And while I could have given up on the garden and just said, you know what, this is too much, I can't deal with it, I'm losing everything I do, that just ain't in my nature. See, this garden, it means way more to me than just some plants out here. This is a way that I look at, a way to feed my family, to make sure that they're getting really good food. And I'm also looking at this space as a way to try to help provide a better life for my family through a business, trying to grow this farm business that we got going on, and just in general trying to get to a point where we can make our yard into some source of income to just better our lives. And we are really close to pulling out the major planting of all our garlic, and this is going to be the time that we figure out if this farm business is actually possible. And 80 days away means that we actually have time to plant more stuff in this garden. We can grow a lot of greens, we can grow a lot of radishes. We still have eggplants and peppers and tomatoes that are doing pretty well and are almost to the point where they're producing fruit. So now guys, we got 80 days to try to get this garden really rocking. Well, there you go. That is the story of our garden so far this year. And well, it started out really high hopes, and it has kind of dwindled down to looking very bleak and dismal. I am back on the upswing of, I think I got most of my problem under control, and I'm looking at 80 days as a really good opportunity to rebuild this garden and to really have a successful season. I still think it's very possible. So stay tuned, because this year ain't over yet. I am not writing the story with a bad ending.